Boxing fans, a real treat. Bayloric Worldwide Television brings you an exclusive with Keith One-Time Thurman from his hotel room before the big fight with Chavez. Bear in mind, Keith Thurman has weighed in against Jesus Soto Chavez, and it's pretty late in the evening that this interview's been done. So, a shout out to Keith One-Time Thurman for taking the time for making the interview happen. And an even bigger shout out to Keith Thurman for, making contact with me to make the interview happen. So this is a bit special. This is One Time talking with Bayloric Worldwide. Hope you enjoy the interview. This is Ingram Johnson, Bayloric TV. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, man.
Thank you so much again for talking to Bayloric TV.
No problem.
Thanks again. We really appreciate you being able to have this interview with you, because before I start, I've got to say thank you to your father, Mr. Thurman, because he's made this interview possible. So, big shout out to him.
Yes, all good, man.
Okay. Today was the weigh-in, correct?
That's right.
So, how'd that go? How was that for you in terms of seeing Chavez at the weigh-in? What's going through the mind of Keith Thurman?
It's all good, man. I'm just happy to be here. Making weight was easy. He was on weight, I was on weight. We had our nice little last face-off before we get to glove up and throw blows. He seemed pretty confident throughout all the times we've been face-to-face at the press conference and at the weigh-ins. And, it's going to be a great fight. I'm truly looking forward to it.
With this fight, the magnitude of this particular fight, a lot of people are talking about Chavez. They've seen who Chavez has fought before. Is there anything different in this particular fight as opposed to the fight you had with Diego Chavez?
For the most part, they're a little similar in style, but Chavez has a higher punch output than Diego Chavez. If you go ahead and you look at what Chavez has been doing lately in his career, he's been a highly active fighter, and he's a very tough and durable fighter, and he relies on his toughness and his output to frustrate his opponents. Because, when they underestimate him and they don't come to fight hard, he's been winning. I mean, he's been proving it. So, it's going to be a tremendous fight tomorrow night.
I want to touch on that, the fact of you making weight. You did make a statement recently in an interview. I'm not sure who it was with. You talked about some fighters being lazy. That's why they jump up in weight. But you're pretty disciplined. Talk to me a bit more about that.
There's two main reasons why fighters move up in weight. One, I do feel like, they're tired of all the hard work and dedication that it takes to fight at your ideal weight. But secondly, sometimes people move up for financial reasons, economical reasons. As you can see in the past 2 years, there's been a swarm of fighters from the 140 division that have flooded the 147 division. And matter of fact, they're really leaving Danny Garcia dry, But it's all good because now there's plenty of action for me, but I have to get past Soto first.
Okay. So when you're talking about guys moving up a weight, you're talking about the likes of Amir Khan, Devon Alexander. I mean, now they're talking about Amir Khan going to fight Floyd Mayweather. How do you feel about that as a natural welterweight, this guy from light welterweight jumping up and fighting Floyd Mayweather?
It's boxing. You never know what's going to happen. There's things that happen that, frustrate fighters like myself. But, it's just an industry. At the end of the day, I don't mind the fight, I think it's an interesting fight only because it's a different fight. We haven't really seen Floyd fight a mover. We've seen him fight a whole lot of flat-footed people. So even though I think Floyd would easily win the fight, it would be a different show. And I don't really mind seeing a different show. But, what has he done as a welterweight to really deserve it? Nothing. So
that's the question that a lot of people are asking. A lot of people are asking that question. What about Shawn Porter, who recently beat Devon Alexander? Would that be somebody you'd be interested in fighting?
I'm interested in fighting everybody, All that I do is I take one fight at a time. I let Al set him up and I take him down, If a phone call pops up, I said, yes, sir, when, where, how much, and then I signed the contract. So, the big question to me isn't who Keith Thurman wants next, but who wants me? Who wants to sign the contract on the other end? Because I'm willing to sign any contract, whether it be, from Khan, Porter, Maidana, anybody, Floyd, anybody. I'm ready to sign my name on the dotted line. I'm old school. I'm just looking for a good opponent. I'm looking for good fights. I'm looking to entertain the fans, and that's what I've been doing.
There is one man known as the Can Man. He says that anyone can get it. What are your thoughts about Adrien Broner?
Adrien Broner is a highly talented individual, charismatic, enthusiastic, he looks up to his big brother Floyd Mayweather, and you can see it. You can see it in his character, you can see it in his ring finesse, and even in his training habits. He's picked up a lot of Mayweather traditions and trying to carry it on, and maybe even add his own little twist to it all. He's highly talented, man, and that's a great fight too. It's a great fight. I know a lot of fans like the fight, and they want to see the fight, and we just got to see what happens. I don't know what Adrien is really going to do after this. He's got his job tomorrow night. I got my job tomorrow night, and I'm just looking forward to opening up the doors for 2014.
So when you see Adrien Broner, obviously at this particular press conference, what's been the interaction between you two? Do you keep yourself apart from one another? Do you talk to one another? What's the sort of interaction like?
He says, he just comes up to me, you ready? You ready, baby? Gonna knock this dude out? And I said, we're gonna do what we do all day, every day. And then, he comes, he's respectful. AB, we represent Team Heyman. I believe that when it comes to the young fighters that Al Heyman has, Adrien Broner and myself are definitely the two most talented. And we definitely have plenty of respect for one another.
So that fight, if you're both in the same camp, probably wouldn't make as much sense as maybe Broner going on fighting someone like Manny Pacquiao in the future, and you maybe going on and fighting, I don't know, Porter in the future or something.
Fighting whom?
You going and fighting Porter, for example, Shawn Porter for the title. Obviously, he won against Alexander. So you'd get a shot at the world title, for example.
All that's good ideas, There's so much in the welterweight division. Like I said, nothing. We don't talk about the next fight. We handle this here, and we worry about the next fight as it approaches. Like I said, I'm ready to sign my name on any dotted line. I'm not ducking nobody. Matter of fact, all you got to do is type my name in Google, and you'll see the fighters that have already ducked me in my career, Marcos Maidana and Robert the Ghost Guerrero. So
I want to touch that Guerrero fight, because, that was a fight that before the Carras fight, a lot of people saying Guerrero's the next one, Guerrero's the next one. What happened? What's the story there?
The story is, Golden Boy asked him, do you want to fight Keith Thurman? And he said no. That's the end of that story right there. He said no. He said no, thank you, in a very polite way. But he says I made plenty of money. I'll wait next year. He says I don't need to fight now. He's in a position to where he knows, it's not a mandatory. You can't ever make a fighter fight, even if it's a mandatory. A fighter can refuse to fight. He can vacate titles, and it was his choice. The choice is his camp. And, they're looking for something else.
What keeps you motivated in camp? When you know that you're being ducked and dived and all good deal of all these politics, what keeps Keith Thurman's mind focused? What keeps you going when you know this is going on?
What keeps me focused is my desire to be a true champion, my desire to be a legendary fighter in the sport of boxing. I truly want to be remembered throughout the years. And even though my record holds at 21-0 with 19 knockouts, I had 2 more victories. Every fighter that ducks me, that's just another victory in my opinion.
What about Garcia Matisse? that fight, what were your thoughts going into that fight?
I knew it was going to be a tough fight for Garcia. I knew he was definitely going to have to box smart. And, Danny has a lot of passion. He has a lot of drive. And he did what he was supposed to do that night, He was able to land some good, clean punches. He was able to cut his man. And, once when he saw he had a wounded warrior, I think he kind of turned it on. And that's what you should do, I believe some fans would like to see a rematch. Don't know if that'll really happen or anything, but, it was a good fight. I was actually there. I enjoyed the fight very much.
Do you see yourself ever fighting Danny Garcia? This is something that one of the Twitter messages that London Boxing Club asked for me to ask you. Do you see that fight as a fight that you potentially could have?
I'm undefeated. I can potentially fight anybody. That's what I've been trying to tell everybody. I've been calling out a lot of people, and as you see, I don't really get what I want. So I'm not really here to talk about what I want. I'm just here to get whatever comes to me, whatever is proposed to me. Whoever is actually willing to fight me, I will fight them. Whoever's willing to fight me, I will fight them. And that's what you guys, that's why we have this Karas fight. He was the fighter who was willing to fight me. So this fight is being put together. Plus, he's coming off a tremendous victory over Adrien Broner. And this fight makes sense in the current moment. In the future, there's many things that make sense. And as long as the fighter wants to step in the ring, I'm willing to go too.
There is, on my Twitter page, one of the statements that people keep retweeting and tweeting all the time, you made a statement to Paulie Malignaggi where you said, you better not duck me, son. And it seems to have been something that a lot of the boxing fans seem to enjoy. When you said that, what was going through your mind?
What was going through my mind at that current time was that I saw Paulie as what I like to title a beatable champion, and Adrien proved that by hopping up 2 weight classes and taking his title. The way I was looking at it was I was going to go after the number 1 position and make it so that as long as Paulie was still champion, he would have to fight me, and that's what that line meant, that when I get up into the ranks, because you claim I'm nobody, but there's going to be a time where I'm going to be right next to you, and I'm going to be knocking on your door, and you better answer it, you know what I'm saying? But he lost that title, and so my desire to, I don't really go after fighters, I go after belts, My desire is to go after the belt, not actually the fighter. So when you say, do you want this guy, do you want that guy? I don't want the guy. I want what he's holding on to.
Right.
So if I have to prove him to get that, then so be it. But my focus is not on any man, but my focus is on being one of the legendary fighters and getting world recognition by getting these world titles in my hand.
So your interaction with Paulie Malignaggi now, what's it like now? Because I know that he was in your dressing room for the Chavez fight, I believe. So what is it like now?
Now, especially after the Diego Chavez fight, Paulie has mentioned to me, especially because he commentates my fight, and we do interviews with one another. He's mentioned how he believes that I am a true fighter, I am a true warrior, and that that I've proven myself now, that I'm definitely a proven fighter. And he respects me. I respect him too. He's been in the boxing game for a very long time. He understands boxing. He understands the history of boxing and how this industry works. And, he's still a potential opponent. Like I said, man, the world of boxing, after this Soto Karas fight that I got to take care of, the door's wide open. Roll the dice, do what you may, and just let the chips fall, man.
In terms of training, I know you also mentioned in an interview about you in the fight against Chavez, you didn't use your jab or you didn't use as much head movement. For this fight against Carras, what have you done differently in training leading up to this fight?
Definitely just sharpening up all my punches, man. Working on the jab, setting up the right hand, and just being focused. I was focused in the Chavez fight, but I just was a little stiff early on. It was clear that after we had a few rounds of a slugfest, because he was a power puncher. I really wanted to see what he could bring into the fight, and he brought the power that I thought he was going to bring. So I decided to switch it up, and I said, okay, that was really fun for a few rounds, but let's show him what we do here in America, which is actually box. We know how to box here in America, So I wanted to show him all of my skills and all of my talent, and I wanted to test him to the fullest ability that I know I was capable of doing, and it was clear that he was not able to pass that test.
As much as that's exciting, is for fans and people who obviously care about Keith Thurman, and you obviously becoming a world champion in the future, giving people the chance to have a shot or to test their punch power, is that leaving the door open to potential difficulties in fights that you wouldn't necessarily have to have because you've taken on that mentality, as exciting as it is?
The judges had me losing roughly the first 3 rounds going into the Diego fight. I believe that I won at least one of those, the beginning 3. But I was keeping track of the score. I was mentally, I knew that he was the champion and that close rounds could easily be turned into his favor over my favor. And that's another reason why I decided to change the fight around, was because I knew that I needed to win rounds. And then when I felt comfortable, when I felt like the fight was around a draw and that it was getting very close on the scorecard, I decided to turn the fight back up, put the pressure on him, and that's when I was able to drop him.
Beautiful shot that you landed to the body, I believe.
Yes.
Fantastic, fantastic. Now I'm going to ask you a few more questions. These are Twitter questions. I think one question for myself as well. People want to know more about your background in terms of like where you actually hail from. I know you're American, but in terms of your background.
My background is that I hail from Clearwater, Florida.
Mm-hmm.
It's the coastal side of the Gulf of Mexico, outside of Tampa Bay.
Right.
I was born and raised there. Lived there my whole life. It's a beautiful city. Growing up there, I enjoy the weather year round. We don't experience no snow. Barely got to pull out your winter coat, and it's made me a fan of nature growing up. I've always loved the outdoors and the beaches. Early on, I was always riding my rollerblades around town and riding my bike around. Typical kid stuff when you don't have a vehicle. And, early on, I started boxing real early, around 7 years old, with my original trainer, Ben Getty.
Yep.
And, luckily for me, Ben Getty wasn't just the average trainer. He already worked in training camps with Sugar Ray Leonard. He was in camps with Roy Jones Jr. He produced a 1988 bronze medalist, Kenny Gold, and he was just a terrific trainer, man. Strength and conditioning wise, he would push you hard. He'd push you to the break. He was always trying to make his fighters stronger than any other fighter out there. He was always taking us to the best gyms, always trying to get us beat up. Early on in my career, as a kid, I remember getting beat up. It took me many years till I finally was able to give people the payback. But that's who I was, man. I was a warrior. I did everything that my trainer wanted me to do. And I always gave boxing my best. I always gave it my all, there's no draws in the amateurs, so it's just win or lose. Win or lose, I just gave it my all, man. And he really prepared me mentally, physically, and emotionally for what lies ahead of being a professional. And he told me back then that you have what it takes. You have what it takes to be a world champion. And so my faith in him developed into my faith for myself. And here we are today, 21-0 with 19 knockouts. So I think it's clear that, you know, he knew what he was talking about even way back then.
So, champ, how do you deal with obviously the loss of Ben Getty, who's been a phenomenal influence in your life? How do you deal with that loss?
I just continue to knock people out. You know, I transfer that pain into my fist, and I keep doing what I know he would want me to do, which is create the knockouts and to be the most exciting fighter that I can possibly be. He told me a long time ago that how important my power is and how nobody can withstand my power. And that once when you get on the networks, all you need to do is create knockouts, and the fans are going to love you. He told me all this, you know. He literally foresaw the future. He knew boxing very well. And, you know, I do what he told me to do, which is to leave it up to the judges, to do my best to get the guy out of there. We train to get the guy out of there, not just to win, not just to have the victory. But if must be, you know, we try to win every round if possible.
Wow. So, in terms of now for you, how do you chill out? How do you, you know, without away from boxing? What do you do outside of boxing?
Outside of boxing, I spend time with my girl back at home.
Okay. I
spend time with my friends, with my family, my brothers and sisters, and my father. And you know, I like to go out and eat when I'm not on my diets. You know, I enjoy a nice some nice crab legs, dip them in butter. You know, cheesecake, some ice cream whenever I can sneak it in, and you know, I enjoy playing guitar back at home. I got some friends that go to school for music. We got a garage back at home. We like to get together and just jam out, man. You know, music has been a hobby of mine since I was 20. I'm not as good as I want to be, but I'm not that shabby.
So could we see like Keith Thurman maybe one evening in concert, one time in concert? Because, you know, Broner's been rapping with the likes of what's the gentleman's like? I can't remember the guy's name again. Oh God, guys, missed my one of the big rappers. I've got the rapper's name. I forgot the guy. Little Wayne. That's it. Exactly. So maybe we'll see one time doing that. Not rapping, but maybe with a guitar.
You never know, man. I mean, I just do it as a hobby. I really enjoy playing blues right now. I'm just trying to get better at my licks and at my phrasing, and it's just a real nice outlet. You know, outside of the ring, it's nice to have outlets. Back in the day, I used to skateboard and things like that, but I have to hold back from the extreme sports that might get me injured. You know, so Absolutely. Music has really helped me cope with that.
You see, I think a lot in times in boxing now, from what I've noticed, a lot of unless you're a guy that's got lots and lots of attention, people get to see a guy fight, but they don't really get to know more about a fighter. There was a couple of photographs I've seen on Facebook of you today where you were signing autographs with young kids. I thought I was really touching. Tell me more about that.
You know, it was this thing that Lehab or Bata Promotions was doing out here in Texas. They had a few of us guys go out there to the Boys and Girls Club, and you know, I was happy to do it, man. You know, I'm a young fighter coming up. I need all the fans that I can get, and you know, this is a process. It's a journey. We all go from little kids to, you know, to our youth, or go through our youthhood, boyhood, the teens, and we work our way up to adulthood, eventually to old age and death. You know, so it's always good when you can give back, because you're not going to be here forever. You know, and like I said, man, I'm truly blessed to have every single fan that I have, and I was happy and grateful to have that opportunity.
Yeah, because I know that it's something that a lot of fighters kind of forget when they're on the way up. When they make it, they kind of forget what's made them who they are, and it seems common today. So, what's going to separate Keith Thurman from the rest?
My roots, man, my roots are set with my original trainer. My original trainer told me, don't forget where you come from. And I know exactly where I came from, man. I came from humble settings, nothing fancy. And, this is truly a blessing, to be living the life that I'm living right now. It's a dream. It's what I've been working for my whole life. And, it's good to get around kids and tell kids that, you need to believe in yourself, even if no one else is believing in you. Believe in yourself. Don't set limitations on yourself. You can be whatever you want to be. If it's an athlete, if it's a doctor, a lawyer, a writer, anything that you want to be. You just got to believe, and you just got to work hard. You got to work hard at it, and I believe I'm proof of that, and I believe many more people can do it.
Said that like a true champ. And finally, in closing, Keith, what sort of a world champion are you going to be? When you eventually lift that world title, what sort of a champion are we going to see in Keith Thurman?
My dream is to go back several generations, far beyond my time, and I would love to be the people's champ. To me, that's what Keith one-time Thurman represents, is the people's champion.
Wow, that's really great. And before I end, the name The Thurminator, what do you think of that?
It's a very interesting name. It's not the first time that I ever heard of it. Matter of fact, I was given the name The Thurminator back in my football season, around a time where I was about 14. Actually, I think I was 13 years old, and I played football for a JV varsity team, and my coaches back then used to call me Thurminator.
Wow. Great stuff. Keith Thurman, once again, thank you so much for talking to Bayloric TV. We really appreciate you as a fighter and as a man. All the best tomorrow night against Soto Karass. Do you have a final message for the fans?
All I got to say is tune in. It's going to be a great show. I promise you another knockout and a great performance. Thank you for all your love and support. And be safe over these holidays. Take care. See you in 2014.
Keith, one-time Thurman, thank you so much.
And thank you.